Hello, everyone. This is Barry Moore. We're at BBB Sharing. I'm here at the Ignite Studio podcast room, and it is amazing. I'm going to ask my two guests to tell me or tell you how awesome this vision was. Because the one guest was in the old podcast studio, which was a closet, basically. He probably doesn't remember. It was not very memorable. But with that, these guys are both here that are very smart. I'm not even going to try to say their names. I'm not going to say the name of the company. They're going to introduce themselves. So who wants to take it first?
Grayson, you want to go first?
Yeah, I'll jump in. I'm Grayson Goodstein. Our company is Gener8ve. That's spelled Gener, numerical 8V. And we're a Richmond-based firm that's doing AI consulting and implementation in highly regulated and auditable environments. And pass it over to Thomas.
Yeah, so I'm Thomas Eves. I'm CTO and co-founder here at Gener8ve, working with Grayson. And that was a great summary of what we do. And the name Gener8ve is spelt the way that it is, just to help with search engine optimization. So a lot of famous groups are doing that these days. Like you have Churches, the band, they spell their churches with a V. And it's just so that there's something to distinguish you when you're going to Google to look for us.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So, and then number 8 is in there.
That's right.
So how do you pronounce that?
So the goal, and it was ill-informed at the time, it hasn't worked this way. I think only one person has gotten it right in the entire time we've been sort of marketing our business, was that it would be generative. So the idea is that LLMs or AI is all generative technology. And so it's tried to smush that together into something that was a bit more marketable, but it's created more confusion than it has helped.
I think confusion sometimes is great.
Yeah.
From a marketing standpoint, I think it gets people's attention.
Yeah.
So that being said, so we had a great conversation. I've known Grayson for a number of years, and I was excited to hear about this new venture. And sitting here with you guys for a half hour before we started recording, I learned a lot about you. But who wants to go first? Tell people what you do.
Yeah. So I think really the reason that we started was because there was what we thought would be a wave happening in technology based around all of the marketing and the conversation that was going on in AI. And both of us, I think, are grounded in our business philosophy that honesty is a critical factor of working with business. And so we saw AI coming, and we also knew that this was a time where its capabilities would be really challenged and also really needed. And so how do we show up with honesty and deliver these AI solutions? So we work a large gamut of engagements, everything from education, insurance, finance, and really trying to make sure that we're leveraging this new technology in a way that gives leaders confidence that it's doing what it says it's doing. And we've done some really neat things in that space that we're happy to talk about, but that's kind of the general overview.
How about you, Grayson? What do you see in this? Because it's a new venture for you.
I was just pumped to work with Thomas. He's a brilliant guy, and so I've watched him in his career through the number of firms that he's worked for over the last nearly 20 years after he decided that this was the path that he was going to pursue and really just excel in it, frankly, to the point we'll get into it in a little bit. You know, he had executive level positions with large teams underneath him. And when he went off on his own, first off, I love the entrepreneurial lifestyle, right? And trying to then you're in charge of the delivery. You never have a boss that tells you to sell something that you shouldn't, where you're going to take that person's number home at night and call them and say, rescind now. And with that type of control, then you get to create. And so what really excited me about this is when Thomas and I got to talking, I knew what he was up to. But my background with running business and operations and people was really a nice marriage. We kind of like to joke and think about it like Ralph Lauren and Peter Strahm. It's my favorite little analogy to go back to, right? The creative and then the guy that's going to be running in the background. And the more that I learned about it, having a construction background as well, it really is construction, just in a digital environment. And so we're building things out. You have the foundation, and we're just going to go step by step until we end up with some really cool tools that we'll end up talking about in a little bit here.
Good. Do you want to get into the tools that you have right now? And
Yeah, sure.
to just see what what you can explain on a easy to understand level, and maybe later on we'll give your phone number out or your emails out or whatever if you want people to call you to learn more.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
Yeah. So I think, to be clear, we're a consulting organization. And so we go into businesses to build the tools that they need. But as a part of that, we've learned some things along the way about what is true across all those engagements. And really, businesses today, I think, are wrestling with a tremendous amount of information being available to them, but also it taking so much time to get through that information. And then not only getting through the information, but then taking that and telling someone else what they need to know. And that can be true in finance, again, insurance, but can also be true for consulting businesses. When you go out and you want to prospect for a client, understand who they are, have some sales conversations, and really get to the meat of what it is that is needed. And in one case, there's an organization that we've worked with that is consistently selling their consulting services, but that the churn of that initial conversation to what it was that they were proposing needed to be delivered could have taken weeks, could have taken months. And so in working with Gener8ve, that same consulting organization has managed to take that down to days, minutes. And so really, I think that that's when someone's listening to what it is we do, I think that's really the opportunity. One of the opportunities is I've got a lot of information. I don't understand it. I want to understand it reliably, and I want to understand it better. And rather than doing that in weeks or months or hundreds of thousands of dollars, when you're thinking about the magnitudes of years, you're thinking about that in terms of minutes.
Yeah. I mean, roofing, right? 50 square roof. I mean, the shingles cost X amount. By the time my team gets out and measures, it gets back to the client, prospect in 10 days, all of a sudden fuel went up to double. I mean, and now they have to come back and walk it back. Whereas if I had AI and generated this interest, so time is money, money's time. If we talked about that, what I see what you guys can do, what I see as small businesses dealing with and large companies is that time's of the essence, getting people up to par, educated. Thomas, you talked about your wife is an educator, and some amazing tools that you guys offer with what she does, training and expertise. So what else could companies learn from you guys?
I think the biggest thing that really differentiates Gener8ve is that AI is trustworthy, that there's a path to knowing exactly what it's doing and getting consistent and repeatable results. And so I think not everybody knows how to do that. And I think that there is a risk in hiring an organization that doesn't. Because the worst thing, I think, is for any business to be operating under an assumption that is false. And that can extend into education to the point that you're talking about. One of the partners we're working with right now is looking at how do we better equip teachers in schools to understand how their students are doing and what they're doing. And so AI can be leveraged as a part of that in the classroom.
Yeah, I think some of the cool things that we can do is try to ground it in reality. Because when people hear AI, it's like, are you talking about the freaking Terminator? And the answer is no. There's so much more to that.
It could be.
I mean, you could be, but that's really not let alone if it's possible, the sandbox that we're playing in. And it's how do we break this down and ground it into what we do? And so if we think in education, how can we use students' metrics and grades that are coming through to identify the places where they need to work a little bit harder to then improve their overall learning journey? When we think about, I'm a roofer, for instance, and let's say that I'm a big-time roofer. I'm a national. I'm in multiple states. I'm buying a ton of material. I have multiple distributors. I'm getting pricing sheets from them every week. Well, how about we just write a tool that grabs those pricing sheets, breaks down those shingles that you want, shows you the best price and the deliverable time, and then hey, maybe you can even have the distributors compete a little bit harder for your business. Yeah, you got something over there? Oh, yeah. So in another place, that I grounded is when we think about big business decisions, we're talking about breaking down all of this data, right? And so I'm a large organization, and I want to generate a report because I'm seeing that one of my products isn't selling as well. But through this type of data, I might be able to see that in Alabama that this specific product is selling incredibly well. So then I know on my manufacturing side, I'm going to turn down our production a little bit, just push all of that product into Alabama and keep them flush on what they need, and then increase my production on something else that's selling along the whole East Coast. And so these are now insights that would have taken a ton of time, a ton of hours, man hours to put together that report. And with a click of a button with these programs, now we can make more intelligent, fast decisions to then be more profitable overall as a company. And I think that's one of the most exciting things.
I'm glad you said the word profitability, because that's what I was going to say. It turns into profitability, and your personnel costs can be lower, or you reboot everybody and retool them to do other things like getting out on the street and telling people who your company is. Yeah, well, we're going to wrap this segment up. If you'd like to stay for one more segment, you guys let me know. But thank you very much. This is BBB Sharing, and we appreciate you guys being on.
This has been great. Thanks.
Thank you.